both had grandmothers, and both of the grandmothers died, so of course they must be cousins.
Wait, so this is fans watching the show just positing that since late grandmothers have been alluded to for both these characters, it's the same grandmother, therefore they share a bloodline.
Because normally grandmothers never die. That's what grandmothers are famous for, not dying.
Wow. I think actually there's also a deviled egg recipe that led people to believe that...
I think Dan and Elise being I think just play the Jerry Lee Lewis card all the way. Like, go for it. You know, why not? Why not? I think it'll make for good TV. Any more of these? Will we ever see the mysterious character Ted? Not the masturbating teddy bear, I take it. Will we ever see the mysterious character Ted that is supposedly Dan's friend?
We sure hope so. As I said, we never know which ideas are going to get approved at any given time. I think we've had 2 separate Dan versus Ted outlines that, for one reason or another, haven't made it through. The first one actually became the Dan versus Dan episode, and we keep trying.
Now, this is kind of weird because your characters, Dan and Chris, are based not just loosely, but pretty specifically on...
Loosely.
Say that.
I do eat a lot.
But they're tweaked like a stand-up comedian or whatever. They're like tweaked versions of who you really are, probably at your core, right? And then,
terrifying.
Like how long have you guys known each other?
20 years now.
I can't, if I think about it, it'll remind me how much I've been aging.
Are you
We went to the
cousins?
same high school.
Are you cousins?
Well, because we're white, we gotta be cousins.
I know all white people is related to each other. No, but that's kind of weird. Like, how much of your real life, I'm asking, is incorporated into the show and the characters? You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys sold a show based on this 20-year relationship you guys have to each other. That's got to be a little weird, because now there's simulacrums of yourselves on this show being played by actors who aren't you.
Did Dan like show up at your and Elise's house a lot? Just like, you need to help me with this. Right now we're going off.
Yeah,
for years.
but there was a lot of like, come pick me up.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Did he not drive for a long time?
I couldn't afford to. I had no money and no car and no future and no hope.
So yeah, I did drive Dan around a lot. And there are little pieces of characters, like the Canadian axe murderer story is actually a story from my family. Seriously.
There's an axe murderer in your family.
And Dan really does make the world's best deviled eggs.
True.
Stuff like that. Little things.
See, I tell you, there are nuggets of truth in here. Dan, do you drive now?
Yes, yeah. Well,
Okay.
I mean, I got a job now.
Yeah. You didn't drive for a long time. Let me tell you guys, you hit one baby carriage during your road test, and it's over for a long time. And Dan is just crawling out from underneath that. So describe the process. I don't know if this is for Brian or for you guys too, probably all 3 of you.
Which social network does this question come from?
I don't know where this comes from. This is just on a piece of paper. I think this is from this cardboard cutout. This cardboard cutout sent us in a really interesting question, and now he's so embarrassed he slipped under the table. Please don't point me out to the crowd. What's the process of writing a script for the show? Now you've sold the show, you go in. Did you originally pitch it as a live action show?
Well, it was originally envisioned as, but pitching it in its current state, it had been changed to an animated idea when we did like the show Bible and the mini scripts and whatnot before we sent it out, and used some of my old doodles as the artwork. But yeah, it was originally envisioned as like a hard R live action Eastbound and Down style HBO sitcom.
I heard it was originally pitched as a series of daguerreotypes.
So then you sell it as an animated show to the Hub, and you're in production, you're doing a script every week. Like, how does that happen? What's the process, like the step-by-step process of from concept to being in the recording booth with these guys to having a show, having the episode show up on the Hub?
A lot of
months
tons.
later.
Yeah, it's a really quick process. It's we come up with an idea, we pitch an outline to the network, they approve it or don't, and if they don't, we come up with another one very, very quickly. And and then once we're approved to get a script, we write the script and hand it off to Brian for the hard part of the job.
That's simple.
Yeah, come on, Brian. Then what happens?
Then me and my team get it together. Well, also, working with Chris and Dan, it's like at the beginning with the executives and the hub and stuff, we sit down for like a writer's retreat. We come up with what will Dan verse. So we come up with a gigantic list. We make our A list, our B list, our C list, and they go off and start writing the A lists and stuff. And the network goes through and approves it, just like he says, and then we go back and forth on those. And then once it finally gets approved, it comes to my team. And the start of the first season, the design. So the interview process of how we were brought in was Matt Danner was the supervising producer and supervising director on first season with myself and Bill Kopp as the directors. So we took it from there, and then Matt moved on. I moved up in that spot, and then we brought on a couple other directors, Ashley Lintz and Stephanie Arnett, who were my ADs on Futurama way back when I started that. So anyways, when we came up with the design and everything, got some great designers. Chris Battle, a lot of you know him from a lot of his work all around town and all around the TV. So Chris Battle and Matt Danner came up with the designs, and they use references like Mad Magazine artists like Sergio Aragonés and Paul Coker Jr. And then we were talking about live action characters to base them off on, and so Dan is basically Charlie Day for Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And for Chris, it was Jason Segel, from How I Met Your Mother. And then for Elise, it was nothing specific, just had to be someone hot. So we'll get together with artists like that. Marina Levikova, and she's the background designer, and Jerry DeJesus was our background painter. And so we looked towards, there was a show that we liked. It was an anime movie called Mind Game, which had like lots of different styles and everything. So we based it off that, did loose sketches, because as you can see in our show, Dan's world's a little bit messier in the line and the painting than Chris's world, and it's his home and Elise's home, so it's a little bit more upkept, so you can tell that, one lives in North Hollywood, one lives in Burbank. So basically that's the genesis of how the design came about, and I hand it off to my designers who have each show to design in a couple weeks, and I hand it off to my directors and board artists who have 4 weeks to board the whole thing. Then we send it to editorial for a couple weeks, send it back to the hub writes some notes, editorial, overseas. There you go, wham, bam, boom. So usually a show like say from start to finish, I always, because Simpsons is so big and everyone knows the patterns of Simpsons and all that sort of stuff, I was on Simpsons season 4 through 8, and the most any one director could direct is 3 episodes per year, because it's in your hand for 4 months each script. Our directors direct 11 each episode, each year. So that means they're overlapping at least 6 episoons at any one time.
Serious multitasking.
Yeah, it's multitasking. Everyone's wears multiple hats.
That explains all the mistakes.
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, and for all you people that point out those mistakes, thank you very much. But there's a certain time when we have to let them go because we have something called an air date, and we have to send the latest version.
I'm guessing the fact that each of the characters' homes looks completely different started out as a mistake, and then you just explained it away as an artistic choice.
Of course. There we go.
Yeah, they were supposed to be roommates.
Now it's for you, 1,000 people, to put it out there, and that's the reason why.
So let's get to the casting now. Did you guys, Dave and Paget, did you get the gig like in a conventional, the usual, auditioning process way?
No, it was very different than the normal audition process, because I believe what happened was we were brought in to read the script with various other actors, and other actors even read the roles that we were reading at different points. And eventually,
Paget doesn't remember any of this.
That didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
I auditioned, I nailed it, I booked the gig. Who are you reading with? I really don't know what he's talking about.
You're missing the point. I just described what an audition is.
Oh, I took it so literally.
I know. I just described.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's when you go to. I don't know if you know this. When you go to audition, other people read that same part
I
that
thought
you're
you
reading.
meant that you were auditioning in a room with someone else also auditioning, and you were taking turns reading Chris's lines, and they were behind the glass deciding who was going to get the job, and I thought, that sounds awful. I wouldn't want to do it in front of another person, but I did not understand what you were talking about.
Like some horrible Hunger Games
Sorry, no one's
Pillsbury Bake Off.
So sorry. What happened